This GUMBANDS podcast is made possible by the Buell Foundation, serving southwestern Pennsylvania since 1927, and by listeners like you. Thank you.
This is GUMBANDS 009. It's a cool conversation with a Pittsburgh geotechnical engineer who's been dealing with projects and problems from new big bridges to local landslides for more than 20 years now. He's originally from Bogota, Colombia, and when I first met him in 2020, he told one of the most amazing stories I'd ever heard about his father on a construction site in the South American jungle. I'm hesitating to say his name because it's one of the first things we talk about. He is Sebastian Lobo-Guerrero. I want to start by asking about your name, just to make sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. Lobo-Guerrero.
Lobo-Guerrero, yes. Close enough.
Say it again.
Lobo-Guerrero. So Lobo is wolf and Guerrero is warrior.
A warrior wolf, that's what you are.
Which it looks very aggressive, right? So.
It's not a combination of your mother's name and your father's name, or it is?
No, no, it's not on my generation. I think it was, my dad actually has been looking at the history of the family last name. And I think what he found is that it was a combination in Spain centuries ago. The interesting part is that the combination happened there, and then somebody with that last name went to Colombia. However, the records that he found, there are only two people that went to Colombia, or the first two people that went to Colombia with the last name. One was a bishop of the Catholic Church.
In Lima, Peru.
I think so, yes.
I found that when I was looking up Lobo-Guerrero.
Exactly, but then the thing is that he was not expected to have kids, right? Because he's a bishop, right? And then the second one was a mercenary that used to sell guns and basically do hit jobs and stuff like that. So, yeah, so that's me, right? I mean, I have to come from one of the two. I'm not very sure which one, but not much of a royal ancestors, I imagine.
So, Sebastian, are you the first Sebastian in your family, or is
that I am aware? No, that I am aware. Yes.
Okay, so
and in reality, since we are friends, I pronounce it Sebastian. That's the accent in Spanish.
Sebastian.
Yes, but when I came to the U.S., I started trying to say Sebastian, and it went to Austin. And I was like, well, might as well just start pronouncing Sebastian. Right?
Sebastian.
Yes, but I love it both
Say
ways,
it again.
So. Sebastian.
Sebastian.
Yeah, so I have a little
Sebastian.
comma or a little thing on the A at the end for the accent. But,
Sebastian.
But it's all cool.
No, I think I probably told you when we first met, I had a foreign exchange brother from Guatemala.
Yes.
Roberto Gandara Guzman. And he was in Pittsburgh living at our house in Bethel Park. And he wasn't there a week when he said, "Why does everyone say my name is Roberto?" And I said, "That's because we know Roberto Clemente."
Exactly.
And he said, "But my name is Roberto."
But, I mean, it's a good thing because I'm not that good on pronouncing names also. So it gave me a perfect excuse, right? To say, well, if you cannot pronounce mine, it's okay that I don't pronounce your perfect.
Sebastian. I think we met 3 years ago because we have a mutual friend, Pete Kurzweg.
Yes.
And I think you know Pete. Pete Kurzweg owns a number of bars here in town. Mm-hmm. He has Lorelei in East Liberty and Golden Age Beer in Homestead, and then two side-by-side bars in Squirrel Hill.
Yes.
A tiki bar called Hidden Harbor, and the Independent Brewing Company where I play records on Wednesday nights.
Exactly.
But I think I met you before I even started to play records. He said...
Yes, that was before. It was during COVID, and it was right at the beginning of COVID 2020. And I think we were like talking at some point, and, I expressed the admiration that I have for your work. And then he said something like, "Do you want to meet him?" And I feel like a groupie, right? A fan. and because I have been following your work since I came to Pittsburgh like 2 decades ago. So I said, yeah, that would be awesome. But it was right in the middle of, the pandemic. So it was not okay to make a party on your house or anything like that. So he arranged for us to meet in one of his restaurants, but it was outside. The restaurant was closed. So we met there, and it was the three of us. And I think we spent an afternoon that I will never forget because it was the three of us drinking a lot of alcohol and, and talking all kind of stories.
And eating good food too, I think.
Yeah. He had some food ready, and it was a long day, but
No, I looked up. I found the picture. It was in July of 2020, which is early in the pandemic.
And the worst part is that I waited 20 years to meet you, and then I meet you and I take a picture with you, but I cannot post it on any social media because then everyone was like, why are you seeing people and why are you in restaurants and stuff like that? I also didn't want to get Pete into any trouble, so I have to hold to that picture and not show it to anyone for a while.
Right. We ate outside in the back.
It was, it was as safe as it could be, right? It was outside. And
I think we all came in with masks on, but we took them off to eat.
Well, I think after 2 hours of drinking, the masks were gone, yeah. But we were all fine, so it's cool.
Okay, so you are born in Bogota, Colombia.
Yes, born and raised in Bogota, Colombia, until I was 22 years old.
Sebastian's family has been practicing civil engineering for generations, sometimes in the jungle.
It is a family tradition, and I mean that's the way that I grew up, right?
And so, and tell me about this.
Yeah. So the first one is this. So this one is a plaque. So it just said in Spanish, MJ Lobo-Guerrero, which is my grandfather, Manuel Jose Lobo-Guerrero.
Manuel Jose
Lobo-Guerrero.
Lobo-Guerrero?
Yes, and he was a civil engineer, so it says Ingeniero Civil. So I grew up seeing that plaque. I think the first memories, I think he was already retired. I don't remember him like working at a place, but he was a civil engineer forever. So every office that he had, because he was still doing things, not with a company, but just like in a private point, I guess, he used to have that plaque. And I just remember as a kid growing up and seeing that plaque and thinking that it was so cool.
But you knew him?
Yeah. I mean, I have a good 10 years probably of my life with him that I remember. So he was a civil engineer. He has the craziest pictures, and you probably have seen some that I have posted on LinkedIn and Facebook. He did the boundaries of Colombia, like the border between Colombia and Venezuela.
You mean I think of that as like a surveyor.
It's like a surveyor, because what happened is civil engineers at those days were mostly surveyors. And he was like a guy he always had all these tools, to throw lines and stuff like that. And I'm talking, this is in the middle of the jungle. And he's
laying out the boundary between two countries.
So he's basically saying, if we're saying between Colombia and Venezuela, he said from that rock to that waterfall, this side is Colombia, that side is Venezuela. But then I grew, so the pictures that he had are insane because they are all like with suits and ties in the middle of the jungle, right? But that's the fashion that they had. And then it's all kind of crazy story because they were like natives, indigenous tribes from the region. So they have to be protected. And he has stories of them attacking them. And they were like cannibal. I mean, it's all kind of things and all kind of great memories. But so he was like my first referent on civil engineering because I grew up, looking up to him. And then my dad comes along, which is a different kind of engineering, but equally awesome. So he's a very practical person. He did not stay in engineering. You can stay on design or you can go on construction, right? So he went in construction because he wanted to build things. He wanted to build the world. He wanted to build Colombia's infrastructure. So from a very early age, when he came back from Purdue, he started working on construction of highways, and that's what he did. So
he studies at Purdue, and then he comes back to Colombia to build highways in Colombia.
To build highways and make the infrastructure that the country badly needed. So he goes back and he does that, and then I enter the equation as a young kid, going to all the construction sites. I honestly didn't realize in my life that not everyone was a civil engineer. Because like everything that I remember is going to construction sites on the weekends. And it was something that I was very proud of being part. But I remember I started talking with friends in school. And they're like, no, we don't do that. Like, right? Like our parents don't take us to go and see bulldozers cutting mountains. And so that was pretty cool. And I knew from a very early age I wanted to be a civil engineer. You have seen the pictures that I have. Pretty much, the same thing that I go now with my cell phone and take pictures. At that time, I have this beautiful camera that I used to go and take pictures of cuts and rock cuts and foundations and things like that. And it fascinated me. I have no idea what it was, right? I mean, I didn't know the technical terms and anything like that, but it was just that spirit of dealing with the earth and trying to be able to, I don't want to say dominate because that's the wrong word. It's more working with nature and make it happen that you have this infrastructure. So that was my youth, right? That was my youth, and I think I took both from my grandfather and my dad, the technical aspect and the practical aspect, and I think that's what I have been able to have a really enjoyable career. And actually, one of the things that I have there is the Pittsburgh Civil Engineer of the Year that I got in 2020, which is a very special award. I mean, I have been extremely lucky on my career to get some amazing awards. This is one that is very close to my heart because I came to Pitt, as we talked before, as a student, right? And seeing that 20 years later, I was able to be involved with the CAP. I'm doing a lot of stuff with PWSA. I'm doing a lot of stuff with Alcosan, the new wastewater tanks for the city. I designed 2,000 piles that this is resting on. So for a city that I fell in love, thanks to you also, it's awesome to see that you pass from being the student to be the one doing these projects, right? And an award like that, saying that you are the Pittsburgh Civil Engineer of the Year, means the world to me, right?
As a kid, you go on weekends with your dad.
Correct.
And there's one special time.
Yeah, one that is not that nice, but yes. So it was 1990. So the day
1990.
was 1990. So it's 33 years ago, right? So we were working. He had a project in the south of Colombia. This is like 8 hours from Bogota. And it's basically a brand new highway in the middle of the jungle. The most beautiful area that you can imagine, because you are literally crossing the jungle and doing this highway. So I used to spend my summers with them here. He was the project manager. So we used to go and maybe spend 1 week a month or something like that. So during the summer, I used to go with him. They have like the resident engineer, like different people that were working on the project. So on January 24th of 1990, we go to do this visit. We stayed the night before in a town that was probably a couple hours. And then we're deep in the jungle. And we're having a meeting. My dad is having a meeting with the engineers. And I used to sit on those meetings at the beginning. But like in 10 minutes, I was checked out because I don't understand anything they're saying. So
you're how old?
I am, I think 11 I was at that time. So they're having the meeting, and then I go to one window like this that we have in front, and then I see 50 people coming out from the jungle, about 50 people.
50 people
50
coming...
people out of the jungle, all covered with guns, with automatic guns. So obviously you say, well, that's not going to be good, right? So they enter the room, the little house that we were, and then immediately they ask for IDs. They identify themselves as the FARC. So FARC is the guerrilla that used to be in Colombia. Good thing is they dissolved a few years ago. They have a peace treaty and all that. But at that time, it was not the beginning. It was like the middle, but it was definitely getting into the peak of FARC.
So it's not drug-related, but political.
It ended up being, at the beginning, it was political. So at the beginning, FARC, it was an organization with ideas and all that. Unfortunately, they end up getting into the business of drugs, right? Growing up in Colombia in the 90s is no joke, right? Because you have the drug lords, you have Pablo Escobar, you have all that. And when we thought we got rid of that problem, then the guerrilla took over the drug. They basically became the drug cartel of the late 90s. So, but anyway.
So you are seeing 50
guys coming at
guerrillas
us, right? Guerrillas coming at us with all heavy guns. They immediately asked for IDs. My dad gets his ID. They were not even they were going for a kidnap. They were going to kidnap somebody. They were not going for my dad. They were going for the resident engineer. But the problem is that they saw my dad was there, right? So immediately it's like, well, why are we going to have this if we can have this, right? They were going to kidnap somebody for ransom money. And it is what they did. So they took my dad. I have a conversation with them. They gave me the chance to talk to him, to say goodbye, which it really sucks when you're 11 years old and you have to go through that. But we did that. And
so they realized you were his son, and they said, you can say
goodbye
to your dad.
Exactly. And my dad said that for him was frightening because he thought they were going to take me. That didn't even cross my mind, but it's obviously seeing your dad walking away with 50 guerrillas is not a joke.
So how many men are there with your dad?
So it was my dad, the resident engineer, couple other engineers. It was probably a group of 6 people.
And they chose your dad?
Yes, because he was like the head of the operation, basically. So we have that conversation. My dad said that I was extremely brave because I even talked to the guys like upset, right? And like I'm pulling his shirt and like, hey, when are you gonna give me my dad back, right? So it was very hard at that time. So I'll tell you, the equation for life, I figured it out. It's tragedy plus time equal comedy, right? So anything that is tragic, if you give enough time in your life, it becomes comedy and it becomes a great story to be talking here, right? At that time, it was not. So
no, I can't imagine.
It was very hard too, because when I was growing up, my parents split. They have a very good relationship. I mean, they have a divorce, but it was very civilized. I never really saw any, fights or anything like that. But I spent a lot of time with my dad during the weekends, not much during the week. In particular, what is really strong for me is because the night before the kidnapping, we were in this little town, right? So it's a little town. We go to a hotel. The hotel have very limited number of rooms. They gave us one room with my dad, but it only had one bed. So my dad was like, we can sleep together the way that we sleep together when you were a kid. So even though I was 11, we sleep together. And I just remember being so happy to have my dad with me there because it's not something that I experience often, like sleeping, hugging him, right? So obviously when the kidnapping comes, like, oh, come on, man. Like after that night, now I have this. So anyway, moving forward, so they take him. So the guerrilla said, I ask and say, when are you going to give my dad back, right? They say, don't worry, it's going to be at 24 hours. We are fighting for Colombia and all the BS that they give. And then they take him and they tell us, you have to be in this office for 1 hour. And if you go out, we're going to shoot you, right? Everyone. So they make us walk. I remember with the hand here. I remember having that gun like here. And we go into that little room. We wait for an hour. We were even afraid to look on the window. So what we did is that the other 5 guys or 6 guys or whatever, they lift me and I was able to look from a little hole under the roof. And I was the one seeing if they were gone. So once I saw that they were gone, it's like, okay, what do we do now? So they cut the tires on the cars that were there, right? So we could not chase or we could not go to the police. I don't remember exactly, but it took a while after we were able to go to another town. Somebody came or maybe the equipment that we had. I remember going to the next town and I was very, very tired because it's a lot of emotions, right? And I just remember falling to sleep. And this is probably the worst part for me in the story, which is I fall asleep. I wake up again probably 5 p.m. And you know that moment in the morning when you open your eyes and your brain is like loading your life, right? So for a brief split of a second, I did not remember that my dad was kidnapped, right? And then the memory came and it's like, oh, this just happened. And I just remember that feeling like sinking in my stomach. And it's like, now the worst part of this is that now I have to go to Bogota. I'm 11 years old, right? So somehow they helped me and arranged and I was able to go to the closest city. I think the other engineers paid for my airfare. So I end up flying to Bogota. I end up arriving on January 25th, which is my mother's birthday. So I end up going home, surprise, my dad has been kidnapped. So it went like that, and as tragic as it sounds, it started getting better after that moment. So
your mother knew that the kidnapping had happened, or you got to tell her
No,
that?
I got to tell her. Because we're talking 1990, so there is no cell phones, there is nothing. So I show up, and she's like, what are you here? You guys are supposed to come back in like a few days, right? And I'm like, no, my dad was kidnapped, but I'm early. So yeah, so it went from that point. The company ended up handling after that point, right? So it was a kidnapping for pure money, ransom money. Now, the story...
But you don't know where he is. You don't know anything.
I have no idea. Then the story takes 2 courses. One is what happened to us and what happened to him. So what happened to him is they take him and they go into the jungle, deep into the jungle. He always said they walk during the day. They walk during the night and sleep during the day on camps. He did not have a solid floor for 3 months. So he's going through the middle of the jungle. He says that he saw the most beautiful scenery that anyone can see, right? But yeah, I mean, and he's looking at it from the positive side, right? I mean, he was trying to not go crazy, and his immediate concern was me, I guess, because he didn't know what happened to me. But then they gave him
3 months.
3 months. But I think after a couple days, they gave him a newspaper that the newspaper says that I was fine and I was able to go back to Bogota. Because that's the next step, which is, unfortunately, kidnapping was a common business in Colombia in the 90s. So the next step is the survival proof, right? You need to prove that the kidnapped person is alive to ask for the ransom money. So he has to sign. So he get a newspaper that says that I'm okay. And then he writes on the newspaper saying, hey, I'm fine, right? These guys are keeping me captive in an undisclosed location. And he sent it. And then we send proofs of survivance also going back. So it goes into these questions that only like family can know the answer. So when you are close to family, you have nicknames and things like that. So they ask like, who is this person? And then I have the shortest stick on that side of the story because he's asking all these things. And when he asks about my mom and my sister, he's like, who is the princess of whatever, right? Who is the queen of all that? And my description was the worst, which is who is more afraid of a chicken than a chicken? Something like that. Or who is scared, who is more scared of a chicken than a chicken? Or who is more of a chicken than a chicken? And that's me. Because the reason is when I was a kid, I used to run from chickens because they terrify me. So, he always make fun. But when you look back 30 years and you see the survivor proofs, they are all very exotic. And mine is like the short end, right? It's like the... But anyway, so all this goes...
And so this was to let him know that you were okay.
And it's all on newspapers because it's the only way that you can write it on a newspaper, right? Like with ink, you write it on a newspaper and then you show that thing was done that day.
That day.
So so a few went back and forth, and then once everything was fine, the negotiation started, and it was 3 months. So for 3 months, we didn't really knew much about him. We just knew that the negotiation was going on. you basically have people that end up handling, right? Like later on, he became one of those negotiating other kidnappings. And then after 3 months, he ended up being released. And it's a call that I will never forget because we were at home, and I don't know if that happens to you, but that happens to me in a few occasions in life, that you kind of know when something is going to happen. And I just remember hearing the phone like 2 a.m. and I was like, that's my dad. I mean, I knew my mom told me the negotiations were going well, and the phone just rang, and then I answered, and it's him, and it's the happiest memories of my life. So
Your dad actually called you and said, I'm out.
Yes. So what happened is he works for 3 months. And then during the 3 months, once he found out that the family was okay, he was like, I need to do something to not go crazy. So he thought about chess, right? So he thought, he used to play a lot. My grandfather used to play a lot. And he used to play a lot as a kid. So he said, if you want to waste time in your life, play chess. Because like your hours are just going to fly. So he was like, I'm just going to dedicate myself to play chess during the day, see beautiful waterfalls.
Had he already taught you to play chess?
At that time, yes. But I was really bad, and I hated it because he was beating me every single time we played. So he asked for a little knife, like a little pocket knife. Obviously, it could not be big because he could, be a threat. He asked for one, and then for a few weeks, he carved the pieces, which I have here. And we can start showing them. So he carved the pieces.
So in the jungle.
With a pocket knife.
With
right?
a pocket knife.
Yes. So he started.
Because he was bored?
Because, he realized he was going to go crazy, right? Because he's basically, during the day, he's like, what do you do? I mean, you just look around, you have nothing to do, just getting nervous. So he was like, I'm just gonna play chess. So he taught them how to play chess, and then he let them win for a month, like the guerrillas. Because you also have to understand the context. I mean, these guerrillas are people that were born in the middle of the jungle in Colombia. They didn't really have any opportunity in life, right? They probably just were born in a small family, they were working the fields, and then the guerrillas come, and it's like, well, you're either part of the guerrilla, you join us, or I kill your family. So it's like, okay, I'll join you. So he never really held them like, guilty for what they were doing. They just didn't know better. So yeah, so these are the pieces. And I mean, he did a fantastic job. This is, for example, a knight.
It is a fantastic job.
So, he carved these for weeks. And I mean, most of these are made from a single piece. So he get a single piece of wood, and, these are the rooks. And the knights, he said they were the most complicated. The pawns are the easiest ones. And, I think this is this is the queen. This is a rook. So he does the white ones, and then he has to find like other kind of wood to make the dark pieces, but he doesn't have anything, right? So he ended up just doing with a pen, he just ended up doing little circles. Let me show you one with the circles. So he ended up doing little circles at the top to identify.
To make the dark pieces.
Correct. So these pieces that I'm putting here, these are the original ones that he did. The board was not there. He used to just play with the poncho. They gave him a poncho during the 3 months, so he could protect from the rain. So with that and a marker, he was able to make the chessboard.
He made the chessboard on his poncho.
On his poncho. And then he puts the poncho, play with the guerrillas, let them win for a month, so they engage in the game. And, and then after that, he started playing well. But he's also not the best player, so, so it was all good. So yeah, but I mean, it's just look the quality of the pieces. To me, it's insane. I mean, he's not like a craftsman or anything like that. This is like, I don't know if you're an expert.
I'm impressed that he gave you this.
Yeah. So what happened is, and look, the knights are beautiful. So what happened is during COVID. So I used to play as a kid growing up, but then I got tired because I thought it was a complex game, right? And I was always beaten by that. So I stopped playing. When I was in college, some friends started playing, and I was like, I need to study. My life is to study engineering. But then, when my son started growing up and watching the Harry Potter movies, and they play chess, wizard chess, so he wanted to learn how to play. So then I taught him how to play, and then I became obsessed with chess again. And I started playing a lot online, and, I started playing with different friends and stuff like that. My son also, I started helping at the Pittsburgh, at my son's chess club, which is the folk chess club. So I started helping there, and running the chess, with the instructor, Mr. Jules. And I started playing, helping there. My son started playing there and all that. And then it transcended. I also have a chess club in the building that we live, which is the Neville House over here. And then on Thursdays night, in the summer, we play on the rooftop. So it's a beautiful view of the city, and it's like 5 of us playing. And now actually I'm playing at Shenley Plaza because I play with Officer Dave Schifran. He has a program with the Pittsburgh Police that is called Chess with Cops. I don't know if you have heard about it.
No.
This is an awesome initiative that he started in 2021 during COVID that he works on the Office of Public Engagement. So he goes to different neighborhoods, set up tables, and play with the community. And the whole point is that you can come and play with a cop. Nothing is asked, and you can have a good time, and it helps developing a relationship. So he does an excellent job. It's almost every day he plays in a different neighborhood.
Chess with cops.
Chess with cops, yeah. You can look it online, and on Fridays during the summer, we're playing in Shenley Plaza. So any kind of people can come, and I play against him. Sometimes I help the police and play on their side if there are many people coming, and it's great. I mean, I believe chess has a magic on it, that it's something on your brain and critical thinking, and it brings so many good things. And it makes also like friendships and stuff like that. So, I mean, obviously for me, chess has a special value because of my dad and this story, right? Like this chess set and all that. So, but it's cool. I mean, nothing to get obsessed. Most chess champions go crazy, so you don't want to go into that side. But definitely to enjoy it, right? So, yeah, so that's the story of this one.
It's an amazing story. Your dad is still alive.
Yeah. So the story have a happy ending, right? So at the end, they end up negotiating his release. He comes, he lives a really good life. He works in engineering. This is also another scary part. He also becomes very pro on helping people that have been kidnapped. There is a sad part here. The person that end up negotiating. So, I mean, I hope nobody has to go through this in life, but a kidnap is negotiated as a business, right? I mean, it's how much is the person value to you? Obviously, the guerrilla asks for certain money, but you have to say, no, I cannot give you that. And it's finding a point in the middle. So the person that negotiated for him, it was a friend that was also a civil engineer. The story of how they deliver the money is like from a movie almost. They have this car, they put all the money on the spare tire of the car, on a Jeep, on the back of the Jeep. They drive to this restaurant. They leave the keys in one table, they sit in another table, somebody comes and takes the keys, takes the car, takes the spare off, brings the car back, they give the good, and then everything is fine. And then after that, they release him. So the guy that did all this, a very good friend of my dad, he ended up being kidnapped 3 years later.
Whoa.
My dad ended up doing the negotiation for him, but unfortunately, at that point, the FARC start going into, basically they negotiate, they get the money, but then they still kill you. So he was killed on that, and I mean, that has a very deep impact on my dad. So he helped a lot more cases in the 90s, some of those more famous than others, but he helped a lot to other people on their negotiation for kidnapping. The worst part, or not the worst part, I mean, obviously he didn't tell any of us, right? So he was saying, like, I'm going for the weekend, he has a ranch, he has a small ranch with cattle. So like, I'm going to the ranch just for the weekend. And in reality, he was driving to the jungle of Colombia, negotiating kidnappings and stuff like that. He told us later on, and it was also something like, well, you cannot tell anyone because in theory, it's illegal to negotiate a kidnapping, right? Because the police is the one. But at that time, the police was doing nothing. So, yeah, it's a sad story. And Colombia, in general, it's a mix of things. I mean, it's the best land in the world, but it's the worst also. It depends on the angle that you're looking at. The good thing is all that changed. I mean, in the 2000, most of the kidnappings stopped. They fought the guerrilla. They end up coming into negotiations and a peace treaty a few years ago. Now it's different. Colombia, it's a great place. I mean, I love going there. It's very safe. Going as a tourist is safe. I mean, you're not going to get kidnapped, right? So
you hope.
So it's a different world. I mean, Colombia has a resilient. I mean, I would say it's the most resilient people that I have seen in the world, right? Like we overcome adversity very quick, right? I mean, you only have one shot in life. So the fact that you have something happen to you doesn't mean it's the end and you can bounce back. I even look at on my own personal experience. I mean, my dad was kidnapped just because he was a civil engineer, right? I never hold that against civil engineering, right? I mean, I still wanted to be a civil engineer. I wanted to continue all this beautiful tradition. So yeah, it's just sometimes you have these things happen to you and adversity. You will always need to face adversity at some point of your life.
How does someone from Bogota, Colombia, find out about Pittsburgh, or what's the opportunity?
Yes.
How do you end up here?
So I was studying in Colombia in Universidad de los Andes. That's where I became a civil engineer. And towards the end of my career, I was looking into how to continue, my education. So initially my plan was to do a master's in Colombia and then maybe come to the US for a PhD. But I ended up meeting in a summer class, Dr. Luis Vallejo, which was a professor from Pitt, that he went there to teach a class on advanced slope stability. So I took
on advanced?
Advanced slope stabilization, basically. So it's basically techniques to stabilize landslides. Right?
Landslide stabilization.
Yes. So I met him, and then he said, I think he liked the way that I was very passionate about what I was studying. And I was very young because I took that class when I was like in my 20s. The rest of the people in my class were like twice my age. And I used to have long hair and very passionate about what I was doing. And I think he liked that. And then at the end of the class, he said, do you want to come to Pittsburgh, right, to do your master's and PhD? And I said, yes, but I need to finish my undergrad first. He said, well, I have a scholarship, but I need to get you down, immediately. And it's a whole long story that is kind of a rabbit hole, so I don't know if it's worth it. But it's basically, he got a grant right weeks before he went to Colombia, and he desperately needed a student. The problem is that this was like in July, so all the students already committed to different universities, so he didn't really have anyone line up. So when he met me, for him, it looked like the great opportunity. My problem is that I was still finishing my undergrad. But I said, I'm not going to waste my shot. So as Hamilton said, right? So we ended up going and talking to professors, and we made it happen. And then 2 weeks after that conversation, I was in Pittsburgh, really having no idea where Pittsburgh was. So the first thing that I did is I came to Pitt. I went to a computer lab, and at that time, I think it was not Google, but it was like, Yahoo or Ask Jeeves or one of those engines. And I just Googled Pittsburgh, and then I saw the map, and I'm like, okay, well, now I know where I am. So that's the way that I came here. And then I did my master's and PhD at Pitt. And then I started working in consulting. So I work in consulting for the last 18 years, doing design and remediation of landslides around the area, doing foundation for bridges and all kind of cool stuff, which is what is called geotechnical engineering.
Geotechnical engineering. So as I understand, it has a lot to do with understanding what goes under a structure.
Correct. So I always said you never see our best work, because what we do is we study the soils and the rocks so you can do two things. One is to put things on them. So let's say that you're doing a building, you're going to need a geotech engineer to design the foundation. So basically where you put it. So you can put things in piles, for example, or you can put it on spread footings, right?
On a spread footing? Meaning
Yes. So a spread footing, let me use my phone as a... Basically, if I'm doing something and I have the ground, I can put a spread footer, which is just like a slab, and then I can put a building on top. So that will be one way. Or the other one is if the soil is here, but this is weak, I can do piles, which is like putting elements. Imagine like columns that go in the ground, right? And I can go to rock, or I can do friction piles that is just, they stay shallow. So we do that a lot. Like the part that I specialize is doing it for transportation. So I work a lot with PennDOT and Turnpike. So when they do the bridges, we do the subsurface investigation to see what is on the soil. And then we design these foundation systems. So that's part of what I do. The other part, which is the one that I like the most, is the landslide stabilization, which is in this region, as you imagine, is perfect and just
landslide stabilization. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to ask, like, people around Pittsburgh, where are we going to know your work? I think the most famous landslide I can remember in recent years was along Route 30.
Yes.
Were you involved in that?
We were involved on that one. We did the subsurface investigation for that one.
Subsurface investigation.
Which is doing borings. So borings is basically going with a machine that drills into the ground and you take samples. And actually, I brought you some gifts that were done like that. So for example, this is a sample of coal that we core through with this machine. In this case, this one comes from the Upper Freeport coal, which is one of the coal seams that were used to be, like mined, not in Pittsburgh, but you have to move around to get into the elevation where that is. So this sample, which is yours now, it's 650 feet below the ground.
And it's called Freeport coal.
That's yes.
And I think I know a little bit about coal seams. They're usually named for where the seam comes closest to the earth.
When it
the surface of the earth.
Exactly. So that is called outcropping. So it's basically when the layer goes into the surface, that is an outcrop. In this case, the place that we took it is not when it outcrops, it's 650 feet above that. So we have to core it because when we do bridges and things like that, we need to make sure that we don't... A lot of these seams are empty, right? Because they were exploded before, or they were mined out. So we have to put the foundation below that, or we have to do what we call a mine grouting plan, which is basically filling those voids. So the bridge, what you want to avoid is that you put the bridge and then the bridge collapses into that. So that was from one investigation.
Mine subsidence.
Mine subsidence. So that's a big deal with this, right?
Yeah, because around here, so much has been mined that you probably have to deal with this problem all the time.
All the time. So yeah, so we need to go and see if the mine, if the coal seam was mined out. If it was not mined out, so that means the coal is there, that's fine. But if it was mined out, we need to do some kind of grouting plan or treatment, or simply just have drill shafts that go below that.
So is it usually mined out?
Depending, yeah. I mean, this area, like, it's all mined out because that's the reason this city started, right? I mean, I learned all that from you when I was a student, right? And
no, I was going to say, I remember
that.
learning that, the Pittsburgh seam of coal, which comes closest to the surface of the earth on Mount Washington.
Correct.
Was the largest natural resource in the world at the time.
Probably, yes. Probably it was.
And it was like astounding the amount of coal that was there. And that really led to the industrialization of Pittsburgh.
Well, I think I learned that from you, and I have to explain why I keep referring to this. So when I was finishing my PhD, I graduated in May because the visa restrictions that I have as a student at that time, I needed to graduate in May. But in reality, I finished my work in December. So I defended my PhD dissertation, and I have a few months, and I dedicate myself to learn about Pittsburgh because I fall in love with the city almost since the day that I came here. So I started going to the Carnegie Library, and then I found all your shows, all the videos for the Pittsburgh History series, and I went deep into it. And at that time, it was not like following you on social media because it was not social media. So I started watching all the videos. It was cassettes, VH cassettes. And it was great. And I learned a lot. And I always said you are one of the people that inspired me also to stay here because the way that you presented and, WQED and Mr. Rogers and all that, learning all that as an adult, it's fascinating to see the view that you have of the city. And I always said, you are not selling the city, you don't work to sell the city, but you definitely influence a whole generation on showing how cool Pittsburgh is. And I stay here, and as we were just talking, I live 2 blocks from here because you make me fall in love with Oakland and Shadyside and the neighborhoods. And you have episodes.
Thank you very much. When you put things out in the media, you don't know what the effect will be. Mm-hmm. And to hear a good effect like causing you to stay here in Pittsburgh is very nice. What do you miss most about Bogota?
I actually go to Bogota quite often. I try to go twice a year. My family will be probably the main thing. I think before I used to miss a lot more things like the food. But now Pittsburgh has this place that is called the Colombian spot. And I'm doing advertisement not in purpose, but it's a really good place. They have one in Oakland, one in the south side, and you can go and get original empanadas and the Colombian drink that is called Colombiana. And it's really good. So that part has become a little easier in terms of missing home because of that. But
I think I've seen the Colombian spot, but I've not been there. It's right on...
I have to take you there.
It's right on Forbes.
It's right on Forbes, yeah. And it's a really good place. It's very affordable, and you get completely authentic Colombian food.
It's a question I like to ask people. Yeah. Do you have, a place you love to go to eat? So the Colombian spot on Forbes, and there's another one...
There is another one in the south side, yes.
Right on
Carson.
Carson Street.
Yes. This one was dangerous because when they opened it, I was going every day to get an empanada. And then my wife has to intervene and is like, it's great that you are enjoying the food back, but it's like one empanada a day is not good for your heart. So I have to control a little bit myself. And the prices are very affordable, so you can go crazy on empanadas there.
So is empanada a typical Colombian
yes.
food?
Well, I think every country in South America and Central America had an empanada.
Right, because I think mi empanada in Lawrenceville is Argentine.
Yes, it's Argentine. So Argentina have their empanadas, and Argentines, they think they're the best people in the world. Well, they have the best soccer team in the world, right? So you have to understand the dynamics between Colombia and Argentina are always complicated because we have always been number 2 in soccer, right?
After Brazil.
Yes, well, they have Brazil and Argentina are like the elite, and then Colombia and Peru are always like fighting there, and Uruguay. But like we grow up always being the number 2 in Argentina. We have one game in 1993 that we won 5-0 against Argentina. It was not even that relevant. It was for the World Cup qualifying. We were already qualified, I think, and they were kind of qualified. But we still hold that as the biggest victory that we have ever had. But anyway, going back into the topic, Argentina, it's a great country. I'm just joking, but they always kind of look down to us, even in the empanadas. So they have the Argentinian empanada, and it's like, But yeah, every country has a different empanada. They are all delicious, to be honest. And
what's your favorite filling?
I like the beef one. They also have the chicken one, but I personally like the beef.
Okay.
But they have chicken, beef, and even vegetarian.
And you put chimichurri on top?
Yeah, so I like that. And then I put a lot of ají, which is like a Colombian spice. Well, ají, I guess, is also from other parts, but it's like a hot spice. Ají? A-J-I. Yes.
It's garlic?
It has a little bit. But it has a lot of other things.
Okay.
It's a mix of heavens, I will say.
Oh, that's good to know. A new place to go and have Colombian food.
Yes, I have to
Colombian's
take you there. Yes.
So you mentioned that the work that you do is largely around highways and transportation.
Yes, transportation.
Which is also what your father did.
Yes. So that's the interesting part. So I grew up in Colombia, and my dad was doing construction. He was a contractor. He grew up in Colombia. He had an opportunity to go to Purdue University in Indiana. Being in Colombia, he got a scholarship there. So he came here, he studied, he loved the country and all that, and then he went back to Colombia. He wanted to go back to Colombia because Colombia was in a boom of construction. So he wanted to be part of that. So he went there.
So he actually came to America first. So he was showing you how you could do that.
Yes, and I think that's part of what I love with the US too, because I grew up like listening to his stories and his education and all that. And in reality, everything goes back to, we used to come for vacation, but 1996, it's a year that is very important for me because he was trying to convince my sister. I only have one sister, Paula. And he was trying to convince her to come to the US and study here. She really wanted no business on that, right? So he said, well, I'm going to take you. I'm going to show you Purdue. I'm going to show you Michigan. I'm going to show you Texas. I'm going to show you different universities so you can fall in love the same way that he was in love when he was here, studying. And they planned the trip. And at the end, I feel he kind of felt bad to leave me there. And he was like, well, you also come, right? Little that he knew, I was still in high school. I was a senior in high school. Little that he knew that my sister went back to Colombia and like, I'm fine. I don't need to go to the States to study. And I was not even in college. And I was like, as soon as I finish, I need to go and study there. I fall in love with the whole concept of the university in this country, like the way that it is, the campus and all that. We didn't really have that in Colombia at that time. The university was in the middle of the city, but it didn't really have a full campus and the libraries and all that. It was different. So I really fell in love with that. I did my undergrad, and then at the first opportunity, I came here. And I'm very happy now because I am back at the University of Pittsburgh now, and I'm teaching as an adjunct professor. So it's as another job. So I guess I have multiple jobs.
So I'm not that familiar with academia, but there are those layers. So you are an adjunct lecturer?
Yes. So what happened is you can be a full-time professor, right? And typically that involves research. So we have great researchers at the University of Pittsburgh. We have Andrew Wonger, for example. He does a lot of hydraulic fracturing and rock mechanics in geotech. But you can also be, so that's your full-time job, right? Like for him, that is his full-time job. I already have a full-time job, right? That goes way more than 40 hours. So I cannot really have that. But they also have adjunct lecturers or adjunct professors that basically you just go and teach a class, right? And I teach classes on the graduate program. So for example, I teach the landslide stabilization class, which is the same class that brought me to Pittsburgh. So for me, it's like closing the circle very, very nicely.
So you teach a class in landslide stabilization?
In the falls, yes.
In the fall.
And I also teach another one on foundations, but I just finished that during the summer.
I want to get back to your dad and his influence.
Yes.
But wait, that also makes me think, do you deal with retaining walls?
Yes, so basically what I do is foundations, landslide stabilization, and retaining walls.
Because I say we make a big to-do about being the city of bridges, but we really are
we are the city of retaining walls. And then we have field retaining walls, which is like gravity, like concrete walls, and MSE walls, which is mechanically stabilized earth. We have GRS, which is geosynthetic reinforced walls. But we also do a lot of cut walls, like soldier pile and lagging. Soldier pile and lagging is what you see a lot when you drive around. It's basically you go and put piles, and then you put lagging, which is these concrete panels that you put in between the piles, and then you excavate in front. But I
think that's like a long 28.
Yes, exactly. 28 has a beautiful one. Yes. And I also get super excited with these walls, which is kind of interesting, but that's just me. But yeah, I mean, for me, Pittsburgh, exactly as you said, it's probably even the bridges are a big deal, and we have the statistics, but the retaining walls are also huge because we have so many weak rocks and bad soils that it really makes it for a great profession. Like when I graduated from Pitt with my PhD, I was like, I'm not going anywhere. I have job guarantee for the rest of my life here.
Do you have a favorite retaining wall?
You mean like a style or a particular one?
A particular one.
Yes, I do. I mean, probably the ones that I have done are
okay,
dearest to my...
Like ones you have done, I'm impressed.
All right, let's see. In Pittsburgh, I'm trying to think. I did one in Boys Park, I think. And because, I work all over the state, right? But I do a lot of like MSCs and anchor walls. I have one that we did for the Shaler Street Bridge. And that's probably one of the ones that I'm the most proud because we use a whole new technique. It was a temporary one. And for years, I have been saying that we can, I mean, this is getting super technical, so I try to just go at the high level. But for years, I was saying that you can do a wall with a steel mesh, a high-strength mesh, that is, it's called a geobrock mesh, there is also McAfee, and you can put anchors and just put that mesh, and you don't have to do concrete. So you save the cost of concrete, you put this mesh, and it also promotes vegetation. So it's very eco-friendly and green infrastructure. So for years, I was saying that, but the traditional manuals don't allow you to do that. And then finally, we have this project. It was a temporary wall. So I talked to PennDOT District 11, which is a fantastic district that we have in the city of Pittsburgh that take care of all our roads and infrastructure. And I pitched the idea, and I say, this can save a lot of money. So give me a shot, and then we do it, and it was a success. It's a very good picture that I have that I actually wear my suit and everything. I took the picture next to it. So I have my hard hat and boots and a suit because I was so proud that, that we did it, that they trusted and that it worked, and it cost half. And I like to think that that's the beauty of being a geotech engineer with experience, which is how can I make this cost effective, right? And how can I save money in these projects being safe? So that's probably my favorite one. But if I can elaborate on that, I'll tell you another one.
Wait, but I want to make sure I know where that is. You said the Shaler Street Bridge?
Yes, so it's Shaler Street is on 19, and Shaler Street is, if you come down from Mount Washington and you go on the backside and you go down, it's a very steep bridge over 19. I mean, it's probably not that, not that visible, but if you know, it's a really steep bridge. It was a very complicated project, but that's the beauty. You see, like in geotech, we say you will never see our best work, which is it's a funny phrase because, I mean, it doesn't mean we're not trying. It just means that we do it so well that it's buried on the ground and you don't see it because we try to merge it into the surrounding.
I think you also worked on the CAP.
Yes, that's the one that I wanted to talk because that is an insane project that has changed my career a lot. So the CAP is for the listeners that are not familiar, it's a bridge that is in the middle of downtown. It's over I-579.
It's over the Crosstown Boulevard.
Exactly. And then it's right between what used to be the U.S. Steel building, I guess the UPMC tower now, and PPG Arena. So what happened is, I believe in the 60s, when they did the interchange, they basically broke downtown into two. I don't think it was the intention. They just wanted to have that road there, but they basically fractured it, right? And then you have the upper, like the Hill District and the uptown, and then they have the downtown below. But the problem is that the community was completely isolated, right? Because then you
cut the Hill District off
exactly.
From the rest of town.
And I mean, we all know, thanks to you too, we all know the history of the Hill District, right? And what it was and what it used to be. So a few years ago, a lot of people in power in the city, the mayor and the county executive, wanted to do like some kind of cap over the highway that covers the hole that you have on the highway, and then you communicate downtown. And the crazy thing is that you can do it with not just with a bridge of concrete, but you can do it with that, and then you can put a mountain, and then you can put bike paths, and then you can put plants. And so they did that crazy idea, and it ended up being fantastic. I was involved. I mean, obviously, all these projects that I'm telling you is not just me. I mean, it's a team of people on the company I work, but also a team of other companies, right?
So many people involved.
Many people, many companies. I mean, that project, the prime engineer, which is basically the main engineer, was HDR, which is a great company in the city. And then they subcontracted us for the foundations. And
so they're essentially building a bridge over a highway.
Yes. So it's a bridge, but it's the widest bridge that you will ever see because it's like a 3-span bridge crossing, but it's really, really wide. It's like football fields wide, right? So it's a lot of elements. And then we design drill shafts, which is basically making holes in the ground and putting concrete, like columns. And then we also did micropiles on the extremes. We did 75 drill shafts and 220 micropiles. It's a big number. And then we did this. Now
and you have to do all of that while the traffic is still going.
While the traffic is going. So it was crazy. And then to make it even more challenging, this started the fall of 2019. So you know what's coming. COVID came, and then imagine doing this. In reality, it actually made things a little easier because the volume of traffic decreased. So we were able to close the roads and things like that. And it went very well. And it was a fascinating project. I mean, I enjoyed it a lot. My son goes to Folk, which is the school from the University of Pittsburgh. And if you go through the Hill District, it's really close. So every day that I was picking him up, I used to take him to the job site and show him the construction of things. So it was a personal project in that sense too, that my son got to see it because he's so close to where we live. And then, I mean, it was beautiful in every sense, but the part that I never imagined was that it was going to take over in another sense, which is the the publicity, because it's basically the spirit of what it represents. So it started getting award after award after award. We are right now up to 15 awards. It got the AASHTO, which is the main agency for infrastructure and transportation. It got the Project of the Year award. It got the American Society of Highway Engineers National Award. So now it's getting, in October, it's getting the one from the American Society of Civil Engineers. It got the one from the ASE Pittsburgh Award. I mean, everyone is giving awards. And I mean, I think it has to do with the engineering, but I think mostly is what it represents. And then after that...
To reconnect,
because
two
it's
communities.
Such an awesome idea. It's such an awesome idea. When we did the opening, we actually did 2 openings, one in the summer, one in the fall. The governor came here and opened it. We have 2 majors actually opening because it was right at the transition. So Bill Peduto opened it, and our new major also opened it. And yeah, it's been great. I mean, it's been an awesome experience. We actually now are doing one in Philadelphia because different cities are copying this concept. So now Philadelphia is also having their CAP, and we designed that one too.
So the word CAP has almost become a word for this wide bridge.
It's exactly, and it's literally just doing that CAP. And I'm actually going to Mexico in about 2 weeks in Querétaro because they want to see that. So I'm doing a presentation. I'm giving a keynote lecture in a conference because they want to see the concept and see if they can recreate. So it is pretty cool. And as I said, it goes beyond engineering. Our part, and I want to be very clear on that, I'm not taking all the credit. I mean, I just did, and when I said I'm talking a company that I work for, we just did the foundation on that, right? There is plenty of other companies doing HDR, did the design of the bridge, there is environmental aspects, there is surveying, it's a team effort, but it's great that we have. So with all these awards, we actually became a very close team too, because now we travel to all these awards, right?
So I don't think you said the name of the company that you work for.
Oh, yeah, no, I haven't mentioned. I have to make a plug for them. It's called American Geotechnical and Environmental Services.
American Geotechnical and Environmental Services.
So it's short for AGES Inc., which is what I have on my hard hat. It's a company that it was founded in Pittsburgh about 28 years ago. I started working with them 18 years ago. When I started, it was a company, probably about 23 people, I think. Now we're up to like 80. We have offices in Philly, Pittsburgh, and also in Virginia. So we have been expanding, and it's awesome to have been part of that big growth. So yeah, it's a really good place. And
engineers do so much for the world we live in, but get so little attention.
I'm trying to change that, right? So yeah, I mean, I think traditionally engineers are not, very good communicators. I mean, the stereotype is that the engineer is more of a quiet person, and I think that is very incorrect. I mean, we have fascinating engineers, and we just need to do a little better job on selling it. And honestly, I mean, I try to do that a lot. I know I appreciate every like that you leave me and all that, because I try to do a lot of things on LinkedIn and Facebook and transmit that passion and fire that I have since I was a young person, loving civil engineering, trying to transmit to newer generations, right? And I know we live in a world that you can have many professions, right? When I was growing up, you probably have 3 options. You could be a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, right? Now it's like you have all these fascinating professions, but engineering, in my opinion, is still the coolest thing that you can be.
And engineers solve problems.
Yes.
I mean, I think that's, I've tried to define it, but, no matter what your problem is, an engineer can help you figure out how to fix it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, you have done 2 of my favorite shows on the Pittsburgh history. One is the stories of the bridge to nowhere. And, that is my favorite one. And you cover all the bridges in Pittsburgh and the history. And then you also have Pittsburgh Engineering, which is a really good show because you talk about civil engineering, but you talk about different kinds of engineers in Pittsburgh and how Pittsburgh has a very rich tradition, obviously with Westinghouse and Carnegie and all that, of covering all aspects of engineering. So,
right, including George Washington Ferris,
correct,
who made the Ferris wheel.
Yes. So
he was a bridge engineer who...
Exactly, and that fascinates me. Like his story, I can guarantee 90% of people don't even know it, right? And then his house is still there, right, on the north side. So, yeah, I think Pittsburgh has a really good history of engineering, and you help a lot with those episodes. But I think we still need to sell more engineering because we have
I totally
great
agree.
history. We have great institutions, right? Carnegie Mellon right there, Pitt right there, walking distance. So I'm very glad to live between the two. So,
well, to end all this, I want to talk a little bit about what I've seen you write about. Maybe your favorite project of all time was when there was a bridge collapse in Colombia.
Yes. I'm very glad that you asked about that because. So
this is, the name of the bridge.
Yeah, try that one, Chirajara.
Chirajara.
You got it.
Chirajara.
Wow, you really got it. So you got Chirajara, not Lobo-Guerrero. What's up with you? So the Chirajara Bridge it's another sad story in some respect because, So, I'm from Colombia. I come here. I do my master's and PhD here. And basically, I do a whole career in Pittsburgh, right? I'm in love with Pittsburgh. I love working here. I'm extremely proud of all the projects that I do here. But a big part of me always felt what life would have been if I had stayed in Colombia, right? Because I really have no affiliation professionally with anything in Colombia. I was still going every 6 months, but I was not doing anything professional. I was visiting family and friends. And then in January 15th, so you see, January is the month of tragedies, I guess.
That's the same time that your father was kidnapped in January.
Exactly. So this is January 15, 2018. It's a bridge that they were constructing in Colombia. It was an iconic bridge. The president actually gave a speech about a month before the collapse. They were still constructing it. It's a cable stray, let me just define it very simple. 2 piers, 2 columns, and then cables going like that.
Yeah, we have a cable stay bridge.
Yeah, like a cable stay bridge here, right? So it's 2 piers and 2 abutments. They are constructing them. They are not yet touching. They are almost ready to touch, constructing from both sides. 1 month before this happened, the president of Colombia goes there, and he's talking about how infrastructure in Colombia is progressing, and he literally says it's designed by Colombian engineers, constructed by Colombian engineers, inspected by Colombian engineers. So this is our sign. And then it collapses. He probably could have added, and the forensic investigation by Colombian engineers. But anyway, so the bridge collapses, and I remember because I was
under construction, it collapses.
Yes, it collapses.
And people died.
People die. Unfortunately, 10 people die. It could have been worse. It collapsed during launch. They estimate that they probably have around 150 people working, but at launch, one thing that you have to learn is in Colombia, when it's known, everyone stops. It doesn't even matter what you're doing. So this bridge, it's a launch. Everyone is having launch, and there are 10 people that are still working on the bridge. And then this thing collapsed in a beautiful canyon, but they end up going down, 500 feet or even more, free falling into this canyon, and unfortunately they die. And it's the end of the lives of 10 people, right? So I remember because I was working at my office, and then my phone started ringing like crazy, right? Like all kind of text messages, but I was really busy, so I didn't look any of this stuff. I finished working, go home. So I have my ritual at home. When I come every day, I live, as I said, 7th floor, very close here, beautiful view of this building and Shenley Park and all that. I sit on a chair and I start going through my messages. And then it's all kind of videos because this is all recorded on security cameras. So I'm going through all the videos and I see the collapse. And my first thought is, unfortunately, this only happens in Colombia. I mean, a bridge like that only collapses in Colombia. And then the second thought was, I feel bad for the guy or the woman that end up doing the forensic investigation, right? Little that I know is that I was gonna be that guy, right? So because at that time I have no affiliation to Colombian engineering. So next day I'm in the office and I get a call from the branch manager of our company in Virginia. And he says, hey, there is this company that we have worked in the past that is called Majestic Masters. They contact us because they were approached by the owner of that bridge in Colombia. They want to have a forensic investigation to know what is went wrong. I have done a lot of work in caissons, which is a very specific kind of foundation. And they said, they know your work and they know you're from Colombia, so it will fit perfectly, right, if you join the team. So we joined the team and we prepared a proposal. We sent it. Then when we send the proposal, they reply back and say the only condition is that if you get the contract, you have to be in Colombia in 48 hours. And I'm like, fine, I'm Colombian, so I have my papers in place, right? I have my passport. I have my US passport. I have my Colombian passport. So we committed, and literally 2 days after that, I was in Colombia. So I texted my parents from the airport, and it's like, hey, guess what? I'm going to Colombia. And they're like, what? Because at that time, I have no experience. I think the owner wanted to have a company from the US that have no affiliation to the country. So it was a complete unbiased opinion. But it's funny because I landed in Colombia, and then keep in mind, I go every 6 months, right? And then my dad picks me up in his car, and it's completely low key. Now I go, and they have bodyguards for us and police, and we are escorted, and they didn't want me to stay with my family. They wanted to be completely isolated because the media was going crazy with this collapse. So they put us in a hotel. We go to the site. It's one of the most difficult things that I have done because when you go to a site that you know days before 10 people died, right? And it was still under the police was still present because it could be considered a murder site, right? And then you walk and you're trying to do your job, trying to look for evidence of what caused the collapse, but you still see hard hats and you still see gloves, and most likely those are from the people that died, right? It went into an investigation. We worked there. I was going back and forth from the US to Colombia. At the end, we finished our job. It's hard because to me, I consider it probably the peak of my career, or one of the peaks of my career, but it's extremely difficult to come to pieces with that because it's the end, or not the end, but it's a very difficult time in the life of 10 families that they lost their dads probably, right? So, and I also relate to the kidnapping because I was very lucky in life that I got a second chance. The experience with my dad could have gone south and he could have been killed as his friend and as many other people in Colombia. But I got that second chance in life that these families didn't have, right? So it's a lot of things in my mind at that time because you want to do the best professional job that you can. You know that it's important for your career, but you also know the heavy load. So it was a very stressful part of my life, and I think I did a really good job handling all that. It opened a lot of doors for me because then I started becoming very involved in Colombia. I got a ton of invitations to do a speaker, like keynote lectures in Colombia, in Brazil, in Peru, because this was famous all over South America, in Panama, in many places. So if I look back, this is only 5 years ago, and absolutely put my career in exponential mode. I mean, that and do these things in Pittsburgh, I got this award, the Lifetime Achievement Award. I got the Deep Foundation President Award. So it's a lot of collection of plaques that really goes back to that thing. So it's great for me, but just knowing that is the law of their lives of 10 families, it's hard. So yeah, but I mean, it's what it is, right?
But it's also a highway project.
It's also a highway
that
project.
Connects to your dad.
Yes.
And I have to ask, I mean, maybe this will be my last question. What did you think when the Fern Hollow Bridge collapsed?
Yes. So I saw that, right? And I mean,
that was also in January.
That was also in January. January is a bad month. So yeah, so I saw that, and as I say, Pittsburgh have two really good things that I don't know how many people are aware. The first one is the DOMI office, which is the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure. It's
Department of Mobility and Infrastructure.
Yes, and it's an amazing. It's a city, agency. Department, yeah. But it's amazing, and again, they don't have the publicity they deserve. They are the ones that keep us with the landslide. They fix the landslide, they fix roads, they fix bridges and all that. PennDOT also has a great district that is called District 11, which are the ones that maintain the highways and all that. And they do a fantastic job, and they have amazing engineers. It's just that engineers are quiet. So you don't know about them, right? So when this happens, it's the worst time because Biden is in town, right? And they are talking about infrastructure and needing more investment and all that. So many people have conspiracy theories and things like that. So the first thing that I do is I obviously have friends that work in these agencies, and it's like, hey, I'm available, right? But they already have other people also involved. So they have, a lot of what people don't know, they have engineers on site the minute after, right? They are looking into all this. They are already planning. So I was not formally involved, but if you know me, I'm not going to miss on that opportunity, right? So I was ready to go that Friday, but I was like, you know what? If I go now, I'm going to get in trouble because there is going to be Secret Service and all kind of stuff. So I was like, I'll wait for my time. So I plan my next day. I wake up really, really early because I know on all these things, when you go at 5 a.m., there is nobody there, right? So I wake up really early, put my hard hat, put my vest, go to the site, enter as if I belong there, which again, I was not contracted by the city or anything like that. And I actually have the chance to walk all that. I walked the deck that collapsed and all that. Obviously, from my geotech background, what I was looking at was if it was foundation related, which it was not. It was, another cost.
It was maintenance.
Yeah, but people kind of give a bad credit to maintenance. It was maintenance, and it was identified that it needed to be replaced. But it's a hard. There is not really guilty parties here because the city and PennDOT can only do so much with the funds we have. Another thing that people don't realize is that we have an infrastructure that needs a facelift desperately and needs the funds for that, right? And I think these agencies do the best they can with what they have and what they know. So yeah, the way that they acted is impressive. The fact that they were able to, because the engineer from PennDOT that ended up being the one responsible for the bridge is the same one that was at CCAP, which were really good friends. So I was day to day, I was notified of what was going on. But they did an amazing job. I don't know any other city in the world that take a bridge collapse and in less than a year, they have another bridge in place. That to me is is remarkable. Let me put it this way. The Chirahara Bridge collapsed in 2018. They're still working on the replacement. 5 years, 5 years later. In Pittsburgh, in a year we got it. So it's a statement, I think, too, that it shows the spirit of the people in Pittsburgh. And it's like, again, we are all going to have adversity in our lives, but it's how we react to adversity, right? And to me, that's a story. I mean, it's a good story because nobody died on that bridge. So it's better than the Chirahara part. But it also exemplifies the resiliency of the Pittsburgher, right? And then we overcome. And I want to say that I'm a Pittsburgher because I have been here for 22 years.
And we're happy that you're a Pittsburgher. So thank you so much for doing this. Let's end with a talk about this. What is this that you brought?
Yes, so it's amazing because when I saw, obviously I have been following, the season that you are doing now, and I saw the title, and immediately I thought about this.
You knew the word GUMBANDS.
Yes, I knew. And when my son was born, I don't know, when my son was born, I started doing a gumband ball, right? I don't remember why. I think it's because we used to shop a lot at Whole Foods and Trader Joe's, and they used to give you a lot of these, rubber bands and gumbands. So I start kind of just putting them together. This is completely handmade. That is one on top of the other, on top of the other one. So I started when he was born, because he was born. I wanted to have like a, something that was showing his age. So I started doing it, and I'm still doing it. It's just that now you don't have that many products that come with gumbands, right? So I probably haven't had one in a while, but yeah. But it's pretty cool. I like it, and I don't know. It's one of those things that, as the time passes, you can see it, and it's pretty cool.
I want you to give him this one too.
Oh wow, thank you.
So this one's not made by. I mean, this is made in a factory or by a machine.
Okay. So this is not like all right.
This is not like put together by hand like yours is, which is beautiful.
Thank you.
But I thought it'd be kind of fun to see.
No,
all that.
Absolutely, I appreciate it. Thank you. And we keep talking because, as I said, we live on that 7th floor, and I grew up in Colombia in a high floor too, and I was very, which is not good to say, but I was always wondering, like, what happened if I drop this, right? And so I always wonder what happened if I drop this from my 7th floor, but yeah, probably I shouldn't, especially after I say it in camera. So
you might try this one.
Yes. So no, I appreciate it.
It doesn't bounce very well at all, but thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having. I mean, as I said at the beginning, you have been an influence for me all these years, and
thank you for these gifts too.
No, absolutely. Awesome. Thank you for the invitation.
Hey, the best.
All right.
This GUMBANDS podcast is made possible by the Buell Foundation, serving southwestern Pennsylvania since 1927, and by listeners like you. Thank you.